Uh, Hi, by the way, this is Thomas, and in today's video, what we'll be covering up is this specific thing. What happens when you consume sugar? So, what really occurs and happens down to your body whenever you consume sugar? So, let me just quickly go through the bad effects, what is sugar, and how sugar works in whenever we consume it. Cool. So, first of all, let's just cover up with the bad effects. The primary one, this is something which I don't need to even like explain it out. Sorry, I just got a call. So weight gain. This is something which I personally don't need to explain you. It technically occurs. Weight gain occurs, and how you actually gain in weight. So I'll be explaining it in the later part. So dental problems. So there was a specific book written by Yuval Noah Harari, and I guess in the first chapter itself. So there was a small component where our ancestors, right? So basically, they never had cavities, but rather we do because they never had the consumption of sugar, but rather like more complex carbohydrate and animal meat. We as a new different generation, we do get dental problems a lot, and sugar consumption of sugar. So this triggers a lot when it comes to dental issues. So, moving down to the cardiovascular issues. So, what really occurs is whenever there is excess amount of sugar in our body. Now, our body's ability to convert it into energy is on a specific limit. So, what it does, it turns sugar into fat. And our cardiovascular system is connected by like something like a pipe. And consider you get a couple of dusty particles surrounding the inner walls of the pipe. Same thing occurs out here. Fat gets accumulated in the pipe region, so in our cardiovascular system, and passing through of air and blood, so that gets really hard along the way. Moving down to the next factor, which is like liver disease. So, in regarding to fatty liver, fructose is the most important reason. I'll explain it in the later part. And along with that, mental health. So, whenever you consume sugar, kids do a lot and they get two kinds of hormones. One would be dopamine and the other one is serotonin. Now, whenever you consume sugar in excess quantity or irregular consumption of sugar, it actually triggers your hormone levels, your mental health levels. Moving down to the next factor, which is skin issues, especially in regarding to acne, where because of the irregular intervals and heavy sugar spikes, heavy blood sugar spikes, a number of individuals will be having acne due to this one specific reason, this fumbling up. One specific reason on when we are consuming sugar that builds up inflammation in our body and does in turn provide us with acne and skin issues. So let me just quickly go through what is sugar. Now consider these three blocks out here. One is glucose and the other one is fructose. Finally, we have galactose. Alright, sugar or whatever carbohydrate form you take. So it will be comprised of these three things. And whenever a glucose molecule and a fructose molecule they connect together, so it will be called as sucrose. When it occurs with glucose and galactose, it turns out to be lactose, so which is present in milk, sugar which is present in milk. And finally, when glucose bonds with glucose, it forms maltose, which could be found in germinated crops like mung beans or something like that. Now, this is a long chain of single monomers of different kind of sugar. So whenever the specific chain is long enough, so that forms our rice. So that could form our I would say popcorn, or it should be in a long chain format so that it doesn't spike our blood levels. So that's why more of complex carbohydrates are good when compared to simple carbohydrate because of the sugar spike. So that is something which I'll explain in the later video. If I yeah, I'll be making one. Cool. So how sugar works? So let me just explain this. Now, whenever we consider table sugar, mastication occurs. We bite it, goes through our esophagus, then onto the stomach, and then it gets down the small intestine. Now out here, so all the sugar gets absorbed. Alright, sucrose. So sugar is comprised of sucrose, which is like glucose and fructose. So what glucose does is that it straight away acts with insulin. So we have pancreas, which would produce insulin, and it carries glucose, it holds up glucose and takes it into the cell so that we can get energy. Now, as you know, our body is comprised of number of cells, and glucose is required in order for the cell to get energy. And insulin is something like a key, where insulin catches glucose and takes it into the cells. Alright, now whenever so there is excess amount of glucose, excess amount of sugar which we are consuming, there are only limited number of cells. Our cells won't be able to kind of utilize it and turn it into energy. So what it does, consider at your home if there is excess amount of rice, what do? You store it, right? So technically our body stores it and will then turn a bit plumpy. Got it? Now, as I told, glucose will be straight away absorbed in the blood and it gets down into the cells. The same case doesn't occur with fructose. Fructose should be processed, sorry, in the liver, alright? So it should be processed in the liver so that it could be turned into a minute particle of glucose itself. But if we consume excess amount of sugar, alright, basically sugar, and it contains excess amount of fructose too, our liver has a certain capability of converting it into glucose. When our liver is unable to and there is excess amount of fructose, liver has to produce and put in a lot of effort, which turns the liver into fatty liver. Got it? So out here, I'm not explaining all of this stuff in a deep formatted way, but rather the more simplistic form. Hope you got a decent enough idea on what happens when you consume sugar. Alright, until then, have a good day and let's meet in the next video. Cool?